Baka and Test is an absolute classic of an anime series, and I highly recommend it for anyone that is looking for a comedy romance school setting. As much as you could technically classify this as a harem as well with the main protagonist, I don't really see it so much of a harem as more of a focus on two particular girls that are in love with the main protagonist, but it also does focus on other romances, not just for the main protagonist himself. And I think one of the things that I really love about the series is it has a large cast of characters that it is able to not just give backstory to, but be able to add flavor to each of the characters and have a large cast of characters that all have interesting character quirks to them, and sometimes how they like to stereotype things to make fun at little things, and the fact that they don't just have the students, but they also have the teachers and certain family members that are all part of this story. And I think what really also stands out is the fact that there are 2 seasons for the series, but each season has its own sort of flair behind it. Of course, the first season is very much heavily focused on sort of the ST wars, sort of overcoming those. Even though the second season does have a lot of ST wars in it, it's not as heavily focused. It's more sort of themed, especially at the end. They've kind of got that bit of a sort of fighting between different classes, but it's in a Halloween theme. But in the first season, it's basically classroom versus classroom and them trying to take each other's stuff. Even though the core of it can be seen as very similar, it is done in a unique fashion. The romance as well in this is really well done, as much as the main protagonist is completely dense. I mean, this kid is a couple of fries short of a Happy Meal. I mean, some of the things he comes up with is just absolute wonkos, but it just adds to the fun comedic value. And even though he is as dense as a doorknob, he still has a personality. When you compare to other harem series that have main protagonists that are really, really, really dense, the issue is they've got no real personality. They're basically like a cardboard cutout. They've got 10 girls that are in love with the main protagonist, but there's no personality in the main protagonist. For this main protagonist, it's kind of the opposite. Yes, he is completely dense as a doorknob, but he's very caring. He's very much self-sacrificing. He's willing to put his own neck on the line to help those that he cares about, even though sometimes he's not willing to do that for some of his friends. But again, that adds into the comedic value. The one thing that I really loved was some of the backstory episodes that actually added value to why some of these girls like him. And not just the 2 particular backstories that focus on the 2 main girls that are in love with him, but also some of the other minor backstories that explain bits and pieces of who he is, what he's like, and how and why these girls do have feelings for him. Especially the one where he basically sells all his stuff to buy a big stuffed teddy bear that he gives to a little girl that of course is related to one of the girls that also has feelings for him. And then there's the backstory for her as well, where he was trying to communicate to this girl that, again, doesn't speak very good Japanese, and he was trying to speak to her, but he was using French by mistake because he's that stupid that he didn't realize that he was mistranslating into French instead of actually German, which was what her native language is. But the fact is once she got past I think he's trying to insult me or, belittle me, once she got past that and actually looked at what he was trying to say, as much as it was a pain for her to work it out, she realized for someone that does not care about his own studies, that is as dense as a doorknob, that has no motivation, no drive, he put all that effort into learning a different language that was the wrong language that he doesn't know, just so he could try and be friends with her. It just shows that as much as he is dense as a doorknob, as I keep emphasizing, there is still a heart of gold in him. And that's what I mean about the sort of bland personality for other harem series, is that those series, there's not much personality behind the main protagonist. There's not much reason for you to get invested into the main protagonist other than just, hey, look at these cute girls and it's a wifey war. For this series, you can get invested behind the main protagonist, even though, again, he is dense, he is dumb, he says the most stupidest things, but again, he still has a heart of gold. And you can see why the girls do like and care for him. One of the other things that I find really funny is the sister complex issue, especially with the fact that his sister keeps trying to kiss him. One of the things that at the start of the series, at least when I first ever watched it, I always thought the series was trying to make the sister seem smarter at the start, and then you just realize that the sister is, if not as dense as him, especially when she buys a steak for him, takes a photo of it, puts it on his bed, and then records it in her in a bikini, eating it with the sauce on her, and then says, oh yeah, I couldn't afford more than one, so I ate it for you and recorded it. And it's just like, huh? What? But I think at the end of the day, I don't think it's as bad as what I like to call it, the infinite noodle works, where he's trying to think that, oh, well, if I cut this in half and half and half and half and half, I can have an unlimited amount of noodles, which will give me infinite meals. So I always call it infinite noodle works. I honestly, again, I cannot understand how he can be that stupid and yet survived for as long as he has. It's either pure luck or someone is watching out for him. So I feel like, again, the first season really does add a lot of interesting stuff to the romance, the marriage, the park, especially for the main protagonist's friend. That is just peak comedy right there, especially with the girl that is also in love with this friend as well. And again, backstory for that as well. It goes into why she has feelings for this other guy. Even though this series doesn't say who wins at the end of season 2, if you really want to find out who wins, I'm sure you can find out on the internet just as easy, even though I do know. I don't want to spoil it for those that don't know, but again, I'm sure you'll be able to find out on the internet. To kind of wrap everything up, my favorite scene out of season 1 and 2, I would say, is the beach episode, or the beach episodes, where there's the cast of characters. They're all going to the beach with their friends and a couple of females, and the sister comes along. The two main boys themselves get into a bit of a confrontation with the girls due to a difference in opinion, and so they get fairly upset at the boys. So they decide as punishment at the end of their little charade is to make them dress up as girls and go into a beauty pageant. And the whole objective for the guys is to try and lose it as quickly as possible, not realizing that no matter what they did, they ended up making the situation worse and worse and worse. And I think it just added so much comedy value to it, but it also kind of added a bit of realistic sort of sense to it as well, that honestly there are some guys out there that do act in the way that particularly one of the judges was like, and I just thought it was absolutely hilarious how they went about it. Again, it's one of my favorite series. I do highly recommend it. As far as recommendation goes for other series that you might be interested in, My Bride is a Mermaid is another great classic. This Is a Zombie is another series that I do highly recommend. Definitely a series that has a lot of comedy in it that I think you'll enjoy. Defrag is also another great one as well, though only one season, based on a manga. It's got 14 volumes currently out. That one is also absolute gold as well. And the last one is When Supernatural Becomes Commonplace, another school setting with a cast of characters that have superpowers, obviously from the name of the anime. I think that's another one that people will definitely thoroughly enjoy. As far as the chances of a season 3 go, I do believe this is very unlikely, even though we've seen a lot of old school animes getting new seasons over the last, several months to years. There is still kind of limits to how far I believe studios will go back. This is definitely one of those classics that I would love to see get a season 3, because I would love to see a conclusion to the story, and of course for anime fans to see who wins. Of course, as I mentioned in the video, I know who wins, but again, anime fans that are only watching the anime may not know who ends up winning. And personally, I just think it's a series that does deserve a season 3, but it is one of those where the chances of a season 3 are extremely unlikely, just due to the environment of the anime industry, and even with all the changes and the big amounts of announcements, it's still very much unlikely. But as much as I would love it to, if something does get announced, I would definitely announce it on the channel, so you definitely will not miss out if you are subscribed. But again, love to know your thoughts. But if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more anime content, and I will see you beautiful nerds in the next video.